Um, Alec Baldwin is indicted again in the Rush shooting.
With major breaking news into CNN, actor Alec Baldwin has just been indicted by a New Mexico grand jury on charges connected to that fatal 2021 shooting on the set of the film Rust.
Yeah, CNN's Josh Campbell joining us now on this, along with legal analyst Ariva Martin. Josh, first to you, tell us what we know here.
Yeah, so once again, Alec Baldwin.
Alec Baldwin indicted. Boeing is a major fuck up. This feels like deja vu. Yeah, man. Time is a flat circle. Everything that happened will come to be once again.
Criminally charged once again. Obviously, we had been reporting earlier on after that fatal shooting in 2021 that the actor had been criminally charged. Those charges were then dropped. Prosecutors at the time said that that was because new evidence came to light in the case, causing questions about a piece of evidence. A law enforcement source at the time told me that that was because they learned that the weapon that was used in the shooting had been modified in some form. And so, again, those charges had been dropped. Prosecutors at the time said, though, that if they gather new information that determined culpability on the part of Alec Baldwin, they would then possibly refile charges. We're learning today that did indeed happen. A grand jury in the state of New Mexico returning this 2-count indictment. I'll read you the 2 charges specifically. Count 1 is for involuntary manslaughter, negligent use of a
ongoing.
I don't know. But I do remember the DA on this was like so insanely like
negligent.
No, the DA, November 20th, 2021. The prosecutor on this case, immediately I locked from day one. I was like, yeah, this person is like a careerist and very clearly trying to frame this for like right-wing audiences, because she fucking went on. She literally went on Fox News to like defend her position. And with the evidence available at the time, it was just ridiculous. It was like, I don't know what the new evidence is that is like reopening this or or actually indicting him. But the OG, in the OG case, the evidence that they had was completely ridiculous and absolutely took away the responsibility from Alec Baldwin and placed it gently on the hands of the coordinator. Like the person that is tasked with
the armor, I think.
The person that's supposed to be like tasked with giving Alec Baldwin the weapon to begin with.
Like the producer?
The armor, the weapons producer, and the armor himself or herself, and then also I think like the guy that is supposed to check it too, right?
Firearm. Yeah. Count 2, involuntary manslaughter without due caution or circumspection. Now, the original prosecutor in the case told me that as part of this lengthy investigation, authorities had determined that there was this culture of unsafe practices on the set.
Oh, they're hinting him as the producer.
Past reports of accidental discharges.
It's
worth pointing out that actor Alec Baldwin all along has indicated that he did not pull the trigger on that weapon. He has maintained his innocence. We just got a statement in here to CNN, a very short statement from Baldwin's attorney saying that they look forward to their day in court. But again, the breaking news now, actor Alec Baldwin once again now criminally charged in the fatal shooting on the set of the movie Rust in 2021, which killed cinematographer Helena Hutchins.
Multi-year long saga.
And Ariva, how are you reacting to this?
Well, these are stunning turns of events because, Brianna, we know that Alec Baldwin probably thought that this case was completely done.
I was in New Mexico when this happened, and you're right. The DA was framing this in a very reactionary way. I know very few people who worked on the film as set hands, and I can definitely say there were some lax standards. I said it at the time. This thing got so much more annoying to me when I learned there's a bunch of Polish guys using their country's only computer to post this stuff. It's like someone who lives in Mississippi rooting for the Yankees. Yeah, 100%.
When I first saw this picture, I thought it was King of Hammers.
King of Hammers?
Yeah.
What's that?
It's like a off-road like event that's going on right now. It's like Burning Man, but for like off-roading Republicans.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
There have been rolling blackouts in Warsaw and Krakow because these guys keep using the computer. Whenever they miss a day of post, it's because the president had to make a phone call. Dude, it's funny because
Somebody said it's like Baja but with crawling. Yes.
it's funny because like every time I like dunk on Poland, which is like low hanging fruit, there's always going to be like some Polish people in the chat being like, no, you don't understand. Our government is no longer as far right, which probably is true. It seems. But I'm not going to believe it until I see the leaders of the Visegrad account get publicly shamed and tried for spreading misinformation and making Poland look bad. Okay?
Once the other prosecutors who were assigned to the case dropped the charges against him, we know that he's gone public talking about the case. He has maintained his innocence. So now to be recharged with some of the same evidence and the same gun, the same issue that.
Yeah, Visegrad is a South African Polish guy, which makes it so much worse, that lived in London, I think, which is like triple fucked. None of which is American though. So why are you jerking off to like America's crimes in general? Like why are you fantasizing about America doing war crimes to other countries? You know what I mean? Like what's it to you, dumbass? God. Makes me so mad. What the fuck is going on? Oh my god, there are so many fucking I wish every time I turn on Twitter there's like at least every time I turn on Twitter there is at least like 15 fucking weirdos. 15 fucking weirdos that are like, I'm actually a neoliberal, I'm actually a neoliberal market socialist revanchist or whatever. And then they're just like sitting there. They're like fucking sitting there being like, I personally think, you know, we have to cut the tall trees being the Yemeni population. Or I think that in every prior conflict, America was always morally righteous. Someone on Twitter is unironically shitting on me for America's invasion and destabilization of Afghanistan and Iraq, it seems. At this point, it's like, what are you? You're an animal. You are a fucking animal. Hayvan. Hayvan oğlu hayvan. Anyway.
The prior prosecutors
it is a straight up fucking 4chan poll. Your haters pointed out something I had to side with them on. When you were talking about the highway of death, you forgot to mention how they were only interested in rolling the top of the hour ad break. Come on, dog. It's 4:52.
Did you not roll the 4 p.m. ad break?
It's 4:52 at 8 minutes before. You suck. It's fine. I deserve it. Here's the 3-minute ad break now. I deserve it. Is your brother an off-road guy? If so, let him know. I'll hook him up with a free upcoming training and tour in Death Valley with my dad's company. He said sick.
with respect to the gun at issue having been mishandled or somehow damaged by the FBI. It's going to be interesting to see how this new team of prosecutors are able to establish the evidence that will be necessary to get a conviction in this case, because you still have this gun that was somehow mishandled by the FBI, which is a central piece of evidence.
The interesting part about this, to me, Ariva, is that officials have not been able to determine how the live ammunition found its way into that .45 caliber revolver it was manufactured by this Italian company that specializes in the kind of reproductions that are used on films like Rust. How does that potentially complicate the process of proving in court that Baldwin is guilty of 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter?
It's going to be challenging, Boris, because the prosecutors will have to prove willful disregard. And you are right. Not only have the investigators or prosecutors not been able to determine how live bullets or live ammunition.
I actually don't understand. I actually do not understand what the new information is. Like, did they explain it? Like, what is different about this case from the last time it was deliberated on at least a little bit, and they dropped it? They just chose to bring it back up. Fuck it, YOLO.
Ended up in the gun. They don't even know how live ammunition ended up on the set. That's still a very unanswered question. They have not been able to, even though the armorer, who has also been charged, she's set to go to trial starting in February. Apparently, she has not provided any information to law enforcement about how that live ammunition arrived on that set. Look, we know that people should not be killed in the making of a movie. This was a tragedy that should have never happened. 2 people have been charged, and now with Alec Baldwin, a 3rd person being charged. Clearly, someone is responsible for the death of Miss Hutchins, but the investigation seems to have been so shoddy that it's not clear to me that anyone will be held criminally responsible.
Yeah, Josh, how much can that endanger things when you have, at least in this kind of legal?
Do you think the movie will be Kino? I think the movie's gonna suck. That's the worst part about it, this, I guess, other than the murder. The involuntary manslaughter, I would say. Like, the fact that someone died is the worst part. But then also, it's like, it's not even good.
Legal accounting here. So many people held accountable, and it's really unclear which one should be.
No, it's a great question. You know, I posed this to prosecutors early on, and they said that they will conduct.
Send that Zionist piece of shit to jail. Who gives a fuck? Yeah, I don't think that that's a standard we can apply. Okay, I don't think it works like that. You can't be like, oh man, this guy's a Zionist. You should go to jail. A lot of people are going to jail then. Okay, like, which fine. Okay, let's incarcerate every person who is pro-Israel, including probably your mom and dad. But having said that, I don't really care about that as much as I care about like what's going on in this individual case, and it doesn't feel like there's enough juice here. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck?
This investigation and hold accountable anyone that they believe was responsible. But it's worth pointing out, after those initial charges came out, we heard from numerous legal experts who were quite stunned, actually, saying that, you know, we can understand charging someone who, you know, was responsible for a live round being in that gun, but there's just been this question about an actor, someone who was told on set, allegedly by one of the prop masters, that this weapon was, quote, cold, that it did not have any type of ammunition in it. That person then handed it to Alec Baldwin. And so this is going to be, I think, a central part of Alec Baldwin's defense. 2 parts. First, you know, should an actor be responsible for then checking the gun and then knowing the difference between a live round of ammunition and a so-called dummy round? We know that there was a live round of ammunition in there ultimately. There's also the question about the integrity of the gun itself.
Yeah, and the answer is no, chatters. That's why there's a whole ass person that does that, which was my argument last time this came up. No, that's not how this works. He was not just the actor, though. It doesn't matter. As a producer, he has a level of responsibility for like the lax safety. Sure, that's fine. But if you're fucking asking, or even as a director, but if you're saying like as an actor or even a director, like he went in, took the gun, and shot it. No, the a lot of you have never been on set, it seems. Okay? There are so many rules and so many regulations surrounding who gets to do what on a set, especially a unionized one, like a union workplace. There is a reason for why there is an armorer to begin with. If there was no reason for an armorer, like if the guy's job wasn't to directly ensure that there is a level of safety, okay, then there would not be a job for that. Like someone could just like bring their own gun to work. Like if there is a pyrotechnic accident, you yell at the the technician that is the licensed technician to actually fucking deal with the explosive material, the flammable material. You don't yell at the guy who is I don't know, like misusing it or is either or redirecting it or something in a situation. I don't really know how this would fit. First, you say pilots aren't responsible for planes. Yeah, responsible for planes falling apart. Now you're saying actors aren't responsible for every single thing in a movie production. It seems like you have a real issue with personal responsibility. It's true. That's what it is. I just hate personal responsibility. And I don't want to see my favorite actor, Alec Baldwin, get hit with a little dose of it. You know what I mean? I hate that because I love him. Personally, I think he's sick. My favorite.
Itself, as Ariva was just talking about, whenever the FBI was brought in to conduct an analysis of this gun, they did multiple tests on the weapon. The central question there was, could this gun go off if Alec Baldwin did not pull the trigger? Of course, he has claimed all along that he did not pull the trigger. What the FBI determined through their testing is that gun could not have fired unless someone actually pulled the trigger. Now, as Ariva mentioned, the gun did get destroyed during the course of that testing. I read through this lengthy report from the FBI analysts in Quantico. What they indicated was, we're talking about an old gun. This isn't a prop gun. This was an actual...
Oh, no. Oh no, conservatives are gonna go crazy on this, dude. Oh God. I think you need to arrest the DA. There, I said it. You need to throw the fucking whole ass prosecutor in jail for doing this. I'm sorry. Oh God, reopening this and then also turning around and saying the FBI accidentally destroyed the weapon. The irony is, every single gun nut knows how easy it is to fucking break. Maybe not fully, but like break an older weapon. Accidentally come the fuck on, man. I mean, dude, why? You have to think, why would the FBI do this? Are they just like, did Alec Baldwin actually want to kill the director of photography? And if so, why in the ever-loving fuck would the FBI hide the truth? You are defending the FBI now? No, this doesn't mean I'm defending the FBI. There's a difference between the FBI rizzing up and grooming an autistic 16-year-old Muslim into, attempting to do an act of terror so they can fucking arrest and apprehend, versus being a part of this like massive cover up where Alec Baldwin somehow, for no discernible reason, killed his own director of photography in broad daylight by cooking up this crazy scheme, knowing full well that the FBI would come in, swoop in, and defend him and destroy the murder weapon.
Functioning weapon that through the course of multiple rounds of testing, the gun pieces inside the gun ultimately failed, causing destruction. And that's what Alec Baldwin's team seized on, saying, look, the gun itself, there were problems with it. But, I went back to law enforcement, to, the prosecutors asking, and they indicated that no, at the time that the weapon was used on that set, analysts believe that it could not have been fired without someone actually pulling the trigger, which I think finally is why, as you look at these charges, this all seems to center around negligence. I mean, it's right in count one, negligent use of a firearm. If you are someone who is in possession of a
I don't think it's super crazy to investigate the guy that was holding the gun that killed a lady. No, I don't think that's crazy at all. There's a difference between investigating someone and then indicting them on involuntary manslaughter charges. Especially after like especially after the first time, like bringing that back up 3 years later, I think it's weird. Thanks for the technical details, Gunweaves. No, I think you're pro gun control until it's a big Hollywood liberal. That's crazy. Dude, I don't care if Alec Baldwin literally gets thrown under the fucking prison for anything else. The point is, if you're going to ask me what I think is going on here, it smells like a prosecutor who is trying to make a name for themselves. Okay? A Hollywood set, ironically, despite the fact that Alec Baldwin did accidentally shoot and kill his director of photography, Hollywood set does have rules and regulation. Of course, when there's a gun, there's still a likelihood, as is the case with any situation, where you can accidentally kill someone. Right? But overall, if you're talking about regulation, there is a shit ton. There are a shit ton of rules and regulations surrounding a set. What's the story? I'm under the impression that he thought there were blanks in them or have gotten this messed up. Yeah, I didn't even know he said he didn't fire, which I think is weird that he said that. Yes, that is how Brandon Lee, Bruce Lee's son, died on the set of Crow. The entire point is there is never supposed to be a live round in the gun. Okay? That's it. There is never supposed to be a live round in the gun, especially on set. You can't do that. The entire purpose of the armorer is to ensure that this does not happen. There's additional checks of safety that need to be put in place, or that is put in place that was not followed on. The people that did not follow on those checks are the responsible parties here and should be punished for it.
functioning firearm and you point it at someone and you manipulate that weapon, whether that's the trigger or the hammer on the gun, and it goes off and someone dies, are you responsible? Prosecutors here saying ultimately yes, or I should say a grand jury coming now and saying yes, that Alec Baldwin should be indicted on those criminal charges. Of course, we'll wait and see what happens next in the prosecution. There was always this question about, early on whether Alec Baldwin would plead to anything. His team was adamant that he wasn't pleading to anything, that he determined or believed that he was innocent of these charges. And again, that statement we just got from his attorney say that they look forward to having their day in court. And then the final point I'll mention, as Ariva centered on, which is just so important, is that we're not talking about a separate group of prosecutors from the original team that filed charges. This prosecution has had all kinds of issues. At one point, there was one person who was brought on to the prosecution team. It turned out she was a Republican legislator in New Mexico, a legislator in New Mexico who was also working on the case. The Baldwin team cried foul there, saying, look, this probably...
No, the prosecutor wasn't clearly biased and politically motivated evil lib. The prosecutor is a Republican, in my opinion, and is politically motivated because Alec Baldwin is perceived as an evil liberal who has said a lot about gun laws. I think it's because he's anti-gun and then shot a gun and killed someone, which is of course ironic because yeah, dog, that's the reason why he's anti-gun. It makes sense to be pro-gun laws because even in the most remote circumstances where there's heavy regulations surrounding a controlled environment, you can still end up having an accidental discharge that takes a life. That's kind of the whole point of why we need gun control. But unfortunately, Republicans straight up cannot see past the first point, which is Lemau, ironic that you want gun control when you killed someone with a gun. Oh, God. This is probably my most libbed up take